All right, I'll go ahead and start. So, just to kind of jump in, we've all probably been here, especially if you're a small business owner, where you're doing everything from operations to HR to marketing to your computer's running slow and you're trying to fix things in IT. You get an email from a client and you're trying to respond to them. So, um, you know, unfortunately, well, most of us are spending 80% of the day working in the business, only leaving that 20% to really try to grow the business, right? So that's where the bottleneck is, where we're just spending so much time on little tasks that we can definitely use AI to kind of streamline all those processes that we have. So um, that's what this is going to be about. This presentation is how can we utilize AI to make our lives a little bit easier and to get back some of our hours, right, throughout the week that we're spending on all of these tasks that take up so much time. So, um, with the introduction of AI specifically in the last couple of years, generative AI, because AI has been around for a long time, but more of your mainstream generative AI. Um, you no longer need that 10-person team, whether it's marketing, whether it's operations, HR, doesn't say that AI is here to replace individuals, but it's here to make everyone's job a little bit easier. So we're going to go over 5 different things that are ways that we can utilize AI to kind of make our lives a lot easier. So, but before we start, I'll give you a little bit of background on myself. I've been in Mesa for 10 years now. Prior to that, I lived in Dallas for almost 10 years. I grew up in Chicago area, as you can see there from my Cubs hat. I've been to a few different World Series, so I'm kind of proud of that, especially since I went to the Cubs World Series in Chicago. I'm also a board member for the City of Mesa Human Relations Advisory Board. I'm going on my second term there. And then, oh, I do have a bachelor's and a master's of science and marketing from the University of Texas. That's not as important just because when I went to school, we didn't really talk too much about digital advertising, right? We may have maybe had a slide on SEO and maybe a slide on advertising, digital advertising. So not as relevant, but I think just kind of having that overview of how marketing has evolved throughout the years. For those of you that do care, I also went to Arizona State for 4 years, and then I transferred to University of Texas for an opportunity out there my senior year. So um, then in 2019, early 2019, after working for Tegna, which is a publicly traded company at that time, at least it was, very large agency. That's when I decided to start up this agency. So in early 2019, about a year right before COVID hit. Um, all of this, we've managed millions of dollars in ad spend, handled dozens and dozens of SEO clients and websites, and but none of that could be accomplished without some of our team members. And these are some of our local team members. Levette's online. Oh, sorry, Levette, I don't have you on here anymore, or not anymore. But I forgot to add you to this. But these are our strategists, and then we have what's called a full stack web developer that can build out anything that's custom if needed. So any type of apps or modules, and that's very helpful in our type of business. Our strategists are that strategists, right? They're not just a specialist in what they do, but we try to strategize on how we can get that client to grow their business through the channels that we work on. And so these are real, they're not AI. Some of them may look a little AI, but they're not. So let's jump right in. Probably the most popular way people use AI is for content creation, right? Whether it's a newsletter, an ebook, um, anything social post that you're wanting to create. I'm thinking that most of us have been in that situation where we're kind of staring at a blank screen and you're like, well, I don't really know what it is I should write about, right? So this is where AI is very helpful. And I think where the majority of people are utilizing it is to help them brainstorm and develop some type of outline to create content, right? So very popular. I'm sure everyone on this on this call has probably done some type of content creation utilizing AI. The key is to allow AI to just do 80% of the work, not 100% of the work, right? We do the final 20%. We put in our own tone, our own verbiage, and we really personalize it to the way that we write or how we want our readers to read that content. So here's a good example. So we go into one of the AI platforms, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or Copilot. There's obviously dozens of them. In this particular example, you know, we prompt AI to, let them know that we're a social media manager. Maybe we want to write some engaging Facebook posts for a plumbing company here in Mesa, right? Maybe I don't know if this is even relevant, but do people need to check their pipes before the summer heat? Maybe not. It's probably more winter, but that's the kind of the prompt that we put in there. And within seconds, it's going to give you some examples, right? Ideas to start writing and to start developing content. So this just a really quick example of how you can develop content very quick, or at least ideas to say, okay, um, here's a good post. Let's revise it, give it our tone, right? Our brand image, and then post it. So content creation, number one thing that most people are utilizing AI for, right? So, all
Willie,
right.
there was a question in the
Oh,
chat.
sure. Go ahead. Let's see.
So it was
What?
from Bob. It says, do you have a suggestion on which AI tool is a great first place to start for people?
Yeah. So I think the popular ones, which is your ChatGPT and Gemini, are probably the good ones to start. Most of everything that I'm going to show you is free, right? There is one example towards the end that requires some type of small fee, right? Because of the complexity of it. But for the most part, I would probably start with ChatGPT, Gemini. If you have a Microsoft subscription, then Copilot usually comes with it. So that's normally what I would start with before you get into some of these other advanced ones where you actually have to pay. There are some that are very expensive, $200 to $300 a month per user. So it just really depends on what it is you want to accomplish. But for content creation, I would definitely just start off with those free ones, your ChatGPT and your Google Gemini as an example. So good question. Next, we're going to look at market research, right? So, I don't know too many people that have time to read a 50-page industry report, right? Especially if you're in a complex industry, financial, education, insurance, some of those there's just so much data and so many reports coming out for your industry that it's hard to keep up, right? And I think a lot of business owners that we speak to spend a good portion of their time, staying up to date on their industry. And it's important, right? Especially if you want to be competitive and you want to be educated on your industry, it's important to be educated, but who really has the time to go over a 50-page industry report, especially if you have multiple products and there's reports coming out on multiple products and multiple markets? That's where you can plug in those reports into these systems. And same thing, very quickly, within seconds, if not at least, or minutes, if not at least within seconds, you're going to get an executive summary or however you want to prompt it to say, give me some bullet points on what this report is about and how can it assist my business. And that takes away you having to go through a 50-page report, right? So good example here on the next slide is we uploaded a Google industry report that came out in came out in Q4 for Q3. It was about 30 something pages, and we just kind of prompted it into, we are a digital marketing agency. We handle dozens of Google ad accounts. Summarize this report with the key points and how it will impact our agency. So within seconds, again, it kind of spat out just that executive summary, those key takeaways, and it's a lot longer. I just kind of put a screenshot in here. You can kind of see it'll take me maybe 3 to 4 minutes to read everything that it spat out versus having to read a 50-page industry report, right? And sometimes there's some fluff in there and you just kind of want to get to the important things. So You can see here in the screenshot that we took that that's the PDF that we uploaded. I believe it was about 32, 33 pages. It was a report done on hundreds of different accounts and agency owners and their feedback on this particular industry. So, any questions on that?
There was another question in the
Oh,
chat. Do you
all
want me to
right.
keep on reading these for you?
Sure, if you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you want, Willie, we can just kind of hold the questions till the end, but let everybody put them in chat, and then when you're done, we can just kind of roll through chat and answer them if that works
Yeah,
for
That would
definitely.
you.
work too.
Okay, so if you have questions as we go through, drop them into the chat, and then at the end, Mindy will help them run through them.
Yeah, perfect. And Stephen, I'll get to that question too later on because there are big differences in being in your premium pay subscriptions for chat for not ChatGPT, but just for your AI platforms versus the free versions. They're just a lot more powerful. You can solve complex issues with the premium versions, but I'll get a little more into that. Next is your customer service, right? So um, unfortunately, in our industry, we get clients who are emailing us all the time. Mindy and Levesque can probably attest to that, where clients kind of want to know, hey, this metric was down yesterday versus the day before, and right, or whatever the reason, maybe we didn't launch in time for a campaign, and they're kind of upset. And I know at least myself. I just kind of want to respond really quick and say, okay, listen, this is partially your fault. You didn't do this, or but we don't really want to do that, right? We want to still provide great customer service. The nice thing about if you're using Google Workspace or you're using my Outlook is it has this built into most of those platforms to where you can just prompt it in the email and say in the response too, because it's going to read that response and say, you know, this is what I wanted to say, but I don't want to be mean about it. I don't want to be rude. And it'll create that draft for you so you can still send out that email, get your point across without having to be rude and, making that that email or that response out of emotions, right? Um, so this will also save you obviously time and it's going to save your sanity so you don't accidentally send something that you probably shouldn't have sent. So here's a good example here. We want to reply to this client who's upset about an ad campaign being launched late. We just kind of put in some rough notes. It wasn't our fault, obviously. It's never our fault, right? But they maybe didn't give us access to their account in time, right? Some of these clients are not sitting in front of their computers daily. And you can see I have a misspell there, but it doesn't matter when it comes to AI. Um, and you want to follow, but you want to give reasons on why maybe you didn't launch in this example, why we didn't launch in time. So as soon as we hit create, it creates that email, right? Dear, and then whoever that client is. Um, and you don't just hit send from here, right? You want to kind of personalize it also and kind of change it up and make sure it doesn't sound like it's a robot that's speaking, but it's still professional. If it matches your tone, um, then depending on what you need to change, but you can see this respond is a lot easier than sending your emotional response. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Market intelligence, right? So this is the one that I really like using. It's a little bit more complex. Um, we're going to go back to those you know being um, knowledgeable in your industry and up to date on your industry, right? If you're like me, you subscribe to a bunch of different newsletters and blogs, and you're getting those in some cases daily. Sometimes I get five, six, maybe even a dozen a day. And it's hard to really go through all of those and see, okay, what's important, what's not. Um, what you can do with AI now is you can scrape the web for anything related to your industry. And there's different tools. In this case, I use Google Alerts. Anything that has to do with PPC, which is your pay per click, this is what the example is going to be. With Google Ads, with Meta Ads, um, and I want them to summarize those key points and all of those different articles and what's important and send it to me in an email every day at 8 a.m., right? Um, that means I don't have to go through all my emails and read all the different newsletters and, you know, obviously, you're not subscribed to everything. So, anything that hits the web, let's just say there's an outage with Google as an example, and it's affecting the East Coast and, analytics is down and you're going to get that, as long as it's at 8 a.m., before 8 a.m., you're going to get that in your mailbox, which is key points on this is what's going on in your industry, any breaking news. That way, instead of spending 30 minutes, an hour or longer in the morning reading any news, you have it in your inbox, bullet point, and in 4 or 5 minutes, you're done. This is how we did that. So we use, like I mentioned, Google Alerts. You can see our prompt there is PPC or pay per click and anything related to marketing because PPC, and you can add negative alerts. PPC is also um, a tick symbol or whatever they call it for the stock market, right? So we don't want to know anything about that particular stock, um, but we want it if it says PPC or pay per click that it has to do with marketing or Google ads or meta ads and whatever else we put in there. We want it to come from news blogs just in the United States and we put it into an RSS feed. Then we use another tool called Zapier where we then take that RSS feed, we append it into a digest and schedule it. Um, the prompt is to where it's going to summarize. It's not just going to give you a bunch of articles and all of this data. If I showed you what that RSS feed looks like, it's bunch of um, just a bunch of data, right? In one page. You don't want that. You needed to organize it and to put it in a bullet point. And then it emails it every day at 8 a.m., right? So this is automating it. So now you're scraping the web for what's interesting or what's relevant to your industry and it's being automated directly to your inbox in the format that you want it. So I believe I have an example in here how it looks. Okay, so here's one that came in at 8 a.m. You can see the subject line, you can see the date. This looks like this was on January 31st. And you can kind of just see really quick 3 different sections. Now I can just read this every day. It's different. It's whatever was happening in my industry the day before, right in my inbox every morning. So just a very, very cool. This does require, if I go back, um, the subscription fee is with Google AI Studio, so that you pay per usage, right? So it's scraping the web and it's taking all of these data points, and it's summarizing it. You're going to pay for the amount of usage that you use to utilize that, right? So another way of doing it is you completely skip out the Google AI Studio. You go into ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or any of these other platforms, and it's there already. You just need it to automate into using Zapier, which is where the costs come from, and Google AI Studio, you need to pay per usage. So, but this is just nice to have because we all want to stay up to date on and you don't technically have to use it for your industry or work. You can, if you're a big NFL fan, you can do that same thing, right? Or sports fan or whatever it is, local news. Um, so we'll move on. The very last one is brainstorming and utilizing it to strategize, right? So if you ever have a tough decision, maybe it's an employee that, that's just giving you a lot of issues and you don't know the right way of going about it. Or maybe it's, you're looking at updating or changing your pricing plan. This is where you can really utilize that too, to where you can plug in a bunch of different things that, the issue itself, the problem, and kind of brainstorm and say, okay, what is the best route? Now, this isn't always going to be like just because AI tells you this is the way to go, that's the decision you're going to make, but it can make you feel a little bit more confident, especially if you don't have, you know, board members who can make big decisions on your team, right? And it's you or maybe you and another person that need to make those tough decisions. This can kind of help you identify maybe different areas or different routes to go into. and it's going to allow you to really make that decision and feel a little bit more confident about it. 415. Okay. I don't have an example here for that because I think that's just very specific on what it is you're trying to do, right? But you're going to utilize it to be that other business partner or board member in your on your team to make those decisions. Um, oops. So some bonus, and this is probably something else that you've seen a lot now is all of the visuals, right? Whether it's video, whether it's images. If you're posting on social media, you may be using stock images, or um, this is where you can also lower your costs, right? Is the ability to lower those costs by creating visuals based off of these AI platforms, and there's tons of those, right? So years ago, we used to use Jasper. I mean, there's, I believe ChatGPT can still create images. Maybe not. I don't know. Dolly. There's Flow. We've created videos, all AI videos, right? And I can show you if we have time. I don't know if we will, but um, you know, very, very cinematic, professional videos that could be made with some of these platforms like Flow. Um, so just the capability. So here's an example. We kind of put in create a photorealistic image of a coffee shop in Arizona with cactus in the exterior windows and customers working on laptops, right? Golden hour lightning. Very short first draft. And this is the image it spits out, right? For something that took me, 10 seconds to type up, to use an image, depending on what I'm going to utilize it for. Now I don't have to go to Shutterstock or any of these other sites if I'm looking to purchase images and I just want something maybe for a newsletter or a post very easily, right? Whether that's something that looks like it's here in Mesa or not, but this is just a very first draft of an image. Here's another image that I created just using AI. That's me at a conference, right? I wasn't at a conference in 2026 because it just started. Um, but this is AI created, right? So now I can utilize an image to say I do want to say, hey, I don't know. I probably wouldn't say I was at a conference if I wasn't, but that's an AI generated image of me at the Marketing Summit 2026, right? So definitely not. Not a bad image for using AI and just throwing something together, and in a couple minutes, boom, here's some images. So, um, any questions? Because I believe this is going to be the last slide, so I'll go over those questions. Sorry. Um, so AI isn't meant to replace anyone. I know there's a lot of talk about, it's going to replace jobs. It's going to replace tasks, right? So instead of spending all of this time um, on tasks that take up a lot of time, we now can have a team, myself, you know, of people that can assist me in their AI. So you can see in this image also AI created, right? There's my team just based out of those 5 different tasks that we utilize AI to kind of create. It's not going into graphic design or video editing or anything else. It's specific to just the 5 things that I kind of talked about. You have your intern, your analyst, a receptionist, a news anchor, right? And then a board member. So um, yeah. And just remember AI creates the content, but you create the connection. So that's very important to keep in mind. And I know we're kind of short on time, so I'm going to go over these questions really quick.
So if we are one of those 5 roles, then we're going to be replaced. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's going to make your job easier, right? So
Okay.
It just means you're
um,
not going to be a news anchor anymore, Stephen. That's what that means.
That was my dream.
What was it? No, I worked for Tegna. I knew a few anchors there. So um,
No, I'm kidding. I don't think I was good enough looking to be a news anchor.
the
Maybe
thing with
Alan could be.
yeah the thing with AI, it's you know the way you're using it shouldn't be to replace someone's job. It should be to make their job easier, right? Make your role easier and more efficient, where you can spend more time, you know, on things that really matter, right? Everything that I kind of went over isn't the main role of you know of an individual. The content creation, even then, you still need to have copywriting skills, right? You still need to be able to match your brand voice to your target audience. So it's not, AI can only go so far, and it is learning, but we utilize it as a tool versus, a replacement. Um, but yeah, let me see some of these. Okay. So Gemini Premium, for example, Ultra, right, or Pro, whatever it's called, that's about $250 a month versus the free version. It is a lot more powerful and a lot more complex things. We're in the process right now of having a full stack web developer build out our new website, utilizing ChatGPT to develop all of the code a lot faster. Right now, there's going to be bugs and issues, but something like that would take our developer months and months. With Gemini. We use Gemini Ultra for that. I can build out a page using nothing but HTML code and JavaScript in minutes. Right now, the code's not going to be perfect, so that's why you need to test it, but versus the drag and drops, which slow down websites, we're now starting to write websites on pure code where they load instantly. You don't have images and everything that's just lagging on the back end. Um, so yeah, there's definitely the ability to take screenshots and add in reports. I mean, I can share my screen and some of the things we do where we upload reports. And instead of us spending hours to say, hey, analyze these reports on, where those areas of opportunity are, and where maybe, there's things that we need to cut out. Within minutes, we have that, right? And we can upload 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 reports, screenshots of this, screenshots of that, a video here and there. And they're just a lot more powerful than the free version. But it also goes back to what are you utilizing it for, right? If you're just utilizing it for some content creation, that's sufficient. If you need more complex things that you want to try to solve or you want the system to do, then that's when you want to at least test it out, the paid version, and compare it to the non-paid version, right? So for months, um, we tested ChatGPT versus Gemini. Um, I personally like Gemini better. I think it gave us better results on the things that we were doing, and then we needed more, so we upgraded into the Ultra, the Pro plan. So definitely, I think there's benefits of having the premium versions versus the free versions. What's the next question? How often are AIs responding to AIs? Probably a lot more often than we think, right? So you have your chat bots, you have your phone calls that are now going through chat or through AI. Cold callers are using AI, right? But you also have customer service. You have AIs that's picking up your calls as well. So they're interacting with each other. Sometimes we'll have one prompt here and take that result and put it into another prompt, and that's kind of how we start to develop more and more content. And by content, I don't necessarily mean content that's going to go that's user facing, but um, just kind of utilizing all these tools and adding AI versus AI, I think is also something powerful that you can do.
So Willie,
So nonprofit, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that was the one I was going to bring up because I know we have at least one on the call, and most of our nonprofits are very in-person service oriented, so they're person to person. So I thought maybe you could touch on some ways that those organizations can utilize AI in some of the things that they do.
Yeah, so nonprofits, just like any other for-profit business, should be on multiple channels, right? Social media, if they're doing anything organic, right? Trying to get it in, trying to get into those AI platforms when it comes to SEO. And I think that's where some of these businesses like nonprofits can have an advantage because they're more of informational as well, right? Versus some companies that are pure sales or trying to lead generation. And that's not to say that nonprofits don't do the same thing because they need to generate donations and But it's the ability, if we have a nonprofit that's, homelessness, I'll just use that as an example, right? If they develop content on questions that people are asking around homelessness or statistics and things, those are the type of things that people are showing or companies are showing up on AI. If I went to AI and I said, you know, what is the population of homeless people in Mesa, Arizona? If you have content and it's optimized for SEO around that specific question and you have that answer, you're going to show up. And why is that important? Because the more you show up, the more visibility you get and the more traffic you could potentially get to your website, right? So definitely utilizing AI to identify, okay, what is it that people are searching for? What is it that's, that they're, that's whatever they're searching for, right? And you can use other tools like SEMrush, but you feed the same thing. You can do your keyword research, you plug all of that into some of these platforms, and you can develop at least content calendars, ideas on what to put on your website. You can scan your entire website and say, this is my website, this is what I'm trying to target, this is my target audience. What do I need to work on to get more of these users to my website? And it's going to give you ideas and things to kind of implement. Um, so definitely something that you can do on the nonprofit side. Um, Ideas of fundraising, right? So you don't have to go through webs, do your research and start looking at, okay, what are different ways to do fundraising? Pop that into AI and see what it gives you. See what those sources are. It's not because all of that information is coming from somewhere. So it's going to give them ideas to brainstorm and okay, what have we not thought about? What can we do to fundraise? Volunteer policy, same thing. If you have an existing one, or maybe you have another website that's very similar in a similar space, plug it into the system. Say, I need a privacy policy, or I need a policy for this. This is one of my competitors. This is what they have. This is our website, and you feed it all of this data. And you say, now create something for me to start working on for our policies, and it's going to give you those ideas to start working on whatever that policy is. So um, prospects, right? So there are systems out there. Um, I think Zoom Info now has implemented AI. If you're looking for prospects, HubSpot has a prospecting tool and it's utilizing AI, where you just kind of plug in, this is who my business, or this is what my business is, this is who my target audience is, who should I be targeting as an example. You're going to have to pay for some of that, for some of that data, but um, definitely, utilizing it for prospecting um, is a good way of utilizing AI, for sure. How would you phrase one of the stress test decision requests to AI? When you say stress test, are you talking about like you're emotional and you're trying to respond to an email, or?
No, the ones, no, when you brought that up, if you're trying to make a key decision
Oh, okay.
and you anybody else to bounce it off of.
Yeah, so this is where sometimes utilizing multiple platforms to kind of see, how much information you have to give it to prompt it, right? So um, the way I would phrase it is if it's not learning from your profile, which the paid versions are do a very good job of that, and they're going to know. If I was to just put in and say I have a plumber in Scotts, Arizona, this is their budget, it's going to already know who I am. But you start out by saying this is the situation, this is the individual, or this is the business, this is the problem, the situation, the issue, this is what I'm thinking of doing. um, what are some other options in the direction that I can go in, right? And that's what you're trying to do, is really get more options to see, okay, and a lot of times it'll tell you, well, this is the pros of it going this route, this is the cons. Let's just say you have to terminate an employee. There's obviously cons to that, and there's pros to it, right? So it's going to help you outweigh that and maybe identify other issues that maybe you weren't seeing. You can say, am I following Arizona state law, right? By making this decision. This isn't to take away from an attorney or an HR professional, but it gives you a little bit more confidence in the decision you want to make, right? So you may be thinking, oh, I can't fire this employee, or I can't terminate this employee, or maybe I should, or, you know, and you feed it all the information you have on why you want to get to that decision, and it'll tell you, if it's a good decision, if it's not, if it's, um, like I said, it may help you feel a little bit better about your decision, or may open your eyes to say, okay, maybe that's not the right decision. Have I done everything to maybe coach the individual, or have I done everything in my power to make, so that's how we would utilize that.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll just real quick just jump in. If for any reason you need to drop because it's 4:30, please don't hesitate. I am going to leave the recording on. I know we started late, so I do want to give Willie a little bit more time. And you are welcome to stay with us if you have some more questions for Willie. Obviously, you don't necessarily need to put him in the chat at this point because we're kind of in the Q&A portion of our episode today. So please feel free to let us know if you've got anything.
Are we
Yeah,
doing
so
intros?
oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh no, intros, you're right. I'm gonna stop sharing that. I was just gonna show really quick, like the different platforms that we use and the amount of, you can kind of see all of the different chats we've had. This one earlier today was on a bagel company. You may have seen their ads because we're advertising here in Phoenix and Las Vegas, or Levette. I don't remember if it's Phoenix and California, but Arizona. But anyways, same thing. Instead of us going through some of these reports and saying, okay, it's going to take us about 2 hours to analyze some of these reports from the previous month, let's plug it into ChatGPT. There's probably images in here that we created, videos. Um, Let me see, Flow. Here's videos that we were creating back in December of just a car in downtown Phoenix kind of driving. Um, these are all AI generated, right? So all of this, we're prompting it, right, on what it is we want it to do. This is supposed to be going through the I-10 tunnel. I forgot what we did with that clip, but um, so all of this is being done with AI. I don't know if you can hear the sound, um, but yeah, definitely. Another platform is Flow, right? So you can create really good cinematic images by using Flow. And yeah, I don't know, Lorena. I think if that was you, if it requires, if the free version allows you to make images or not. But we're on a paid version of this, so um, it may not. I don't know. I should.
Yeah, I tried doing a flyer. Well, I've tried doing a few flyers. I've tried creating a few images, and
Yeah.
it always directs me to a paid membership version of something. So, which I might just invest in because I've been needing so much of it that it may make sense.
Yeah, and platforms like even Canva, right? They
Yeah.
have built-in AI to where it's like Adobe now. Adobe has built-in PowerPoint, where you can, if it's not like a, too sophisticated of an image, and you could probably have the skills to really create those really good videos, like the gorilla videos. We have a gorilla video that's about a minute long. If you've seen those popular ones on social media, we have one of those fully created 100% from AI. So it's really it's what you're going to utilize it for if you need to get to that next level of paying for that service.
Everybody, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your patience while we got this off the ground. I hope it brought you something that you can engage with over the next month. And we'll reconvene in March.